Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are. I'm Dame Crawford here for Ark Republic with a quick recap for the Ark Republic Quick Culture Conversations. Today, we're going to talk about the Super Bowl halftime show. It was a great show. I graded on the curve a little bit. If I compare it to the rest of the halftime shows, I will probably give it a B. But if I compare it to any hip hop show of that magnitude, I have to give it an A. And I'll tell you why. I give it a B just because in comparison to the Michael Jackson show, to the Usher show, to the Janet Jackson show, in comparison to those shows, it was a little underwhelming only because that's entertainment on a different level. Dancing, singing, doing straight pop hits. So this is a little different. I feel like what we were dealing with was a masterpiece at work. We were watching a Pulitzer Prize winning poet put on a show on the biggest stage of America. So that's why I say, as a hip hop show, and from a technical standpoint, because I have put together shows, not of that magnitude, but I've put together shows for large crowds of up to maybe about 20 to 30,000 people. So there's some technical things that I watched Kendrick Lamar do that I know he needed to do in order to get through the whole show. He paced himself. The beginning of the show was a little reserved, and he revved it up towards the middle. And then he got to his ending, his big finish, if you will. And I think he did a great job of doing that. He did a great job of putting his set list together. Kendrick Lamar is very keen on telling stories with all of his shows. If you've ever been to his tours, or if you even watched his piece of the Super Bowl halftime show with Dr. Dre, or if you watched his show on Prime, he's always storytelling with his concerts and with his shows. So it's not just like boom, 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 boom songs. There's actually story and symbolism behind it. Now, I'm not going to get into all of the different symbolism because it was so much. There are plenty reaction videos to give you all the symbolism breakdowns, but I do just want to touch on some of the bigger symbolisms that I saw, starting with Samuel L. Jackson as Uncle Sam. That was a great pick. That was a great piece. And basically, he was Uncle Sam trying to tell Kendrick, you need to behave. You Negroes need to behave. And I thought that was a great touch, and I thought that was a great piece, as he kind of was also like the ringmaster throughout the whole show. It was pretty brilliant. Another thing, he turned the whole stage into a PlayStation controller. He had the X, he had the triangle, he had the zero. And at every different point, he had different songs, different vibes, different plots going on. I thought that was pretty brilliant because it led into the very ending of the show when he said game over, to let everybody know that even though he was killing Drake, it was all a game to him, and he's won. It's over, finito, done. I don't think there's any coming back from this. Another thing I saw was the dancers. He had very masculine black men being represented, especially that moment when the black man turned to the American flag and he stood in the middle. That was a great bit of symbolism, and it was very masculine black men with masculine choreography, and I think that was, done very intently, and I think he did a good job with that. To me, this felt more like an art installation than just a halftime show. I think he did some things that people are going to look over as you watch the show again, because I've watched the show a few times. As you watch the show again, you will see just how much symbolism. And one of the reasons that I felt like we didn't get to catch everything the way we needed to, sometimes on the football field at the halftime show, there's things that are made by the choreographer and by the stage manager. There are things made to play to the audience in the stadium, and then there are things made to play to the audience watching. I feel like we missed out on some of the big things that were going on stage because, of course, when you're watching a show like that, they have to do a close-up. So when they were going to do close-ups on him, we missed some of the things that were spread out bigger on the stage, because I've even seen sometimes when they would cut away and cut back, I'm like, oh, I feel like we just missed something. We just missed some more symbolism of what the red, white, and blue dancers were doing on stage. And I think the red, white, and blue dancers represented America, but I also think it represented Crips and Blood and Peace, the way he used it and the different way he was using those pieces. And I thought that was dope. And then we just get into the petty of it all real quick. He had SZA up there, who she did her thing, but SZA is one of Drake's exes and one of his ex-label mates. And then he had Serena Walker crip walking on that man's grave. And she's a ex of Drake's, and Drake said some very terrible and demeaning things about her after they broke up. So I feel like she got her lick back. I thought that was, King Petty right there. But even more than that, like you get back into his breath control. He's rapping using a lot of words. His flow takes a lot of lung power. And my man did his thing to try to slow it down and make sure on that big of a stage, he didn't lose himself, didn't get out of breath and stay composed. I think he did a great job with that. And these are just some of the technical things I know as a performer that I noticed. And like I said, I feel like he kind of revved it up at first. The show, it did feel a little underwhelming just because I know he really wanted to get the storytelling piece out in front. And after he did, I feel like once he got to Euphoria, he started playing to an audience of one and he revved it up. After that, I feel like the show took a whole new energy. I feel like the show went from like something very, like, I think that was the blackest halftime show we've ever seen. But then when he got to the Drake piece, I think he said this was going to be time for me to make my kill shot. And he did just that. I think this is exactly what you would expect from a Pulitzer winning poet. If you look at it from that perspective, not just the average everyday rapper, not just an entertainer, but a mind that can give you a Pulitzer Prize piece. I think this is what you get. Now, I like the piece where he took direct aim at Drake, talking about I really want to do the song and I might sue, and they teased it a little bit. Crowd got hyped. You heard it. I think that was the perfect way to go head on and do that, because I think you had to serve Drake up on that. But then when he finally did Not Like Us, and the look into the camera where he says, "Say Drake, I hear you like I'm young," and the choreography along with the people in the background where he puts his hand down and he goes back up and then he says, all the way up to the piece, "Better not ever go to cell block 1." And the diabolical look in his face as he looked in that camera and made that smirk is when I knew like it was over. And then he brings Mustard out and they turn the TV off. And at the end, he turns the TV off with the fake remote, winks at the camera, and the whole audience presents game over. Chef's kiss. I think he did a great job. I think he really did a great job. My only knock is I wished that maybe he would just sneak Juvenile out there to do back that thing up. But I also understand, as the whole piece, as I talk about it as an art installation, I also recognize that he was telling a story. And I don't think Back That Ass would work as part of that story. And I think he did a great job telling that story. And now you have all of the MAGAs going crazy, saying that was a DEI halftime show, which is hilarious to me, because if you talk about DEI is supposed to talk about, in their mind, it's about people not being qualified. Like, oh, DEI ain't about race. It's about people ain't being qualified. So how are you calling that a DEI show when he's won 22 Grammys, 2 American Music Awards, 7 Billboard Awards, 2 MTV Europe Awards, 11 Video Music Awards, a Pulitzer Prize, an Academy Award nomination, and many, many more? How is he not qualified to be on that stage with all of those accolades and those qualifications? So I just like to say to all the MAGAs, just say the hard ER. Just say the hard ER don't belong on that stage, because it's not about DEI. And now I know for sure you guys are just using DEI as a replacement for the N-word. And if that's what y'all want to say, just say it. Stop hiding behind DEI. Stop hiding behind CRT. Stop hiding behind woke. What it means is you don't feel like black people belong in these spaces. And I also like the unintended perk and consequence of Trump being there for the Black and Superbowl halftime show. I don't know if he watched. I'm sure he probably didn't even understand the symbolism, or he didn't care. But it's just the fact that he was there, and you got an unapologetically black halftime show, and watching all the people go crazy who didn't understand what they were watching and feeling like they weren't included is hilarious, because you're watching in real time all these people who feel entitled to everything, even our culture. And it's a quick side note. I love the Nike commercial with all the ladies saying, "You go win," those top athletes doing a thing. The way it was shot, it was beautifully shot. It was a great message telling the girls to go win. And I just love the way they made them look. If you looked at how they looked on that camera, it was amazing. So all in all, I love the halftime show. I think Kendrick did his thing. I give him his props, because that is a hard stage to do, a hard thing to pull. People don't know, when you're in the stadium that big, it's very hard to hear yourself. Almost everything sounds like an echo. Staying on beat can be one of the most difficult things ever. And if you had noticed, even as much as I love the Usher show, Usher You usually see Usher perform at like a 10. Usher probably was like at a 7. I mean, energy wise, just because you have to worry about so many technical things that you usually don't have to worry about on stage. So I want people to take that into consideration too when you're thinking about this show. But I think it was a great job. Like I said, if I compare it to all the other Super Bowl shows that I saw, I would give this probably a B, which is not bad. But if I compare it to a hip hop show at that level and that magnitude, definitely an A. So thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for joining me for this quick culture conversation. Until next time, I'm Dame Crawford. See you soon.